Okay, good evening and welcome once again to our Junior College Planning Night. My name is John Macaluso. I'm the Director of Guidance for Commack Schools. Also joining me this evening, we have two presenters. The first, Chris Natali, who is a counselor here at Commack High School. And also, we have a guest presenter this evening, Ms. Sharon Brennan. And we'll tell you a little bit more about Sharon later on in the evening when we introduce her. We have a very informative program planned for you this evening. I hope to answer a lot of your questions. I also hope to generate some questions that you may be discussing with your counselor in the future, especially as you move along to junior planning conferences later this spring. But for now, really over the years, the college process has changed quite a bit. I think back to when I was in high school and where we are today, and how the college process operates, and it really has changed. Today, students are applying much earlier to college. We have many more students applying early action and early decision. The cost of admissions has continued to increase over the years. Acceptance rates have decreased. The use of the internet and applying online has really significantly impacted the college process, and that's probably one of the biggest changes over the years. And lastly, the use of the Common Application. The Common Application is something that your children or the students sitting in the audience will become very familiar with the Common Application as they move into senior year. And it's a great tool, but it also has had a dramatic impact on the process. As a result of these changes, I would say there's been a heightened level of anticipation and anxiety. There's greater difficulty planning for standardized exams, how and when to visit colleges, and students are forced to make important decisions at times before they are ready. The purpose of this evening is to help ease some of your concerns. We hope to provide you with a game plan for how to approach the college process. We want to get you to start thinking about the college process, and as I said a little bit earlier, just to start to generate questions. And even if you walk away this evening with more questions than you came in with, that's okay. But hopefully we can take a very stressful and anxious time as we're moving into the spring of junior year, fall of senior year, and hope to ease some of those concerns. And the one thing I will tell you is that it will be okay. Everything is going to be fine. We're going to provide you with assistance along the way. Your counselor is a great resource, so rather than sit at home and question things and reach out to your friends and ask them, oh, how are we supposed to do this, or how does this process work, give us a call, send an email to your child's counselor, and we'll be happy to help you and answer all your questions and spend time with you and help direct your child in the right direction. Just to give you an idea as to where our seniors are in the process right now. So fast forward a year, your children or the students in the audience are seniors. It's mid-November, and where are we? Well, about 60% of the students have applied to at least one college at this point at Commack High School. That roughly equates to about 4,400 applications are somewhere in the process at this point, whether the students applied online through the Common Application, they submitted their processing form to us, or we've submitted applications out to college. We've processed, about 4,400 applications are in the process of being taken care of right at this point. I mentioned early action applications have increased over the years. This year, about 1,100 of the 4,400 applications are early action applications. So those students are submitting applications that have deadlines maybe of November 1st and November 15th. And that's a big increase, even from a few years ago. Back in 2010, we had 400 early action applications. This year, 1,100. So when I talk about changes, you can kind of get a sense of what I'm talking about and how things have changed. We also have about 55 students who have applied early decision to a college. Far fewer students always apply early decision due to the nature of early decision and the fact that it's a binding agreement. We'll probably talk a little bit more about that later this evening, or down the road you'll learn more about the difference between early action and early decision. Last week, students during the school day met with their counselor in small groups on Thursday or Friday of last week for junior class meetings. A lot of the information that we discussed tonight was covered during those meetings, but the students did not have an opportunity to meet with our guest presenter, so that's why students and parents were invited to come this evening. In the near future, we're going to be sending home a mailing, okay? So within the next couple of weeks, a mailing will be coming home to you about junior planning conferences. That's an opportunity for you to call up the counseling center, schedule a meeting with your child's counselor, so it's the student, the parent, and the counselor, for a very extensive meeting to discuss, you know, in much more specific detail to you or to your child, the college process and what it means for your child, and how to specifically, for your child to specifically go about the process, prepare for, or to discuss colleges, what level of colleges you should consider applying to, how you're going to approach all the standardized exams, and different things along those lines. So expect that mailing to come in the next couple of weeks. I will tell you, for the month of December, we're only going to have, the counselors will only have very few slots each week in order to schedule an appointment, okay? So really, the junior planning conferences start to pick up a little more heavily in February, March, April, in that time frame. We will be doing some in December and January, but on a very limited basis. One of the main reasons for that is because December and especially January, we spend a lot of our time working with students on scheduling for the following school year, and we have to meet with each student individually for scheduling meetings as well. So that's one of the reasons why the junior conferences really start to ramp up in February, March, and April. However, if you want to try to get in early and see your counselor, you can give us a call and we'll try to fit you in. At this point, you know, I don't want to take too much of your time because I want to allow the presenters ample time to cover what they want to cover this evening. So I'm going to turn it over to Ms. Natali, who's going to speak to you more about the application and selection process, or how things operate here at Commack High School. So Ms. Natali.
Good evening, everybody. I like to begin this event, and I do each year, by basically starting out with my theme, which is, it's not complicated. So if everyone could take a collective deep breath and realize that the college application process has been made out to be this huge monster that you need to be afraid of. Instead, what I'm going to do is kind of outline some basic steps. It's really not all that complicated, and I think the one student that I had that really kind of put it into words, and I can't do it justice, the way she said what she said was precious. But I was helping a student last year, and I have a college application help desk during the fall for the seniors. And she came in, it's a walk-in thing. She came in and she was having a few problems filling out the common application. So we logged her on, and she was showing me what she needed to show me. We fixed what she needed to fix. And she said, okay, what do I do now? And I said, well, that's it, you're finished, just submit. She goes, really? And I said, yeah, you're finished. And she looked at me and she goes, what is everybody getting so excited about? It's really very simple. So I'm going to try to walk you through the steps, and hopefully by the time you leave this evening, you won't be afraid of this, but excited about it. All right, what are the steps? This is the hardest step. Step one is define what your good college is. I used to be in admissions. I was in admissions for 25 years, and I was the director of admissions for many of those years. I'd go to the college fairs, stand behind the tables, kids would come up to me, various cities throughout the country, and inevitably, most of them would say, is this a good college? Well, let's define good. And good is defined in terms of the individual. There are a lot of good colleges out there. There are over 4,000 colleges in this country, and each and every one of them is good for somebody. There may be colleges out there that are good for you, your son, your daughter, or for the students, there might be colleges you've never heard of that are good for you. So keep an open mind. All right, so you have to first decide what's important for you. And obviously academics. Does the school have your major and programs? Is it going to be challenging enough for you? Or is it going to be too challenging for you? And what kind of style of instruction? Are you going to be in lecture halls, or are you going to be in smaller classes? What's the campus and the community like? Location, setting, size, facilities, campus life. And who are you going to be hanging out with? The selectivity. What's their admitted student profile? Who gets in? And what are their acceptance rates? In other words, do you have a shot? I never ever use the word safe, because a safe college this year may not be safe next year. So I'd kind of like you to get that out of your vocabulary. I like to think in terms of more like target schools. And reach is still kind of a reach. If you have a dream school and it might be out of range, but it's still something you want to try, there are still reach schools out there. And then you also, what sometimes people don't look at this stage is the results. Who gets hired? Who goes to graduate school? But more importantly, how many kids start in freshman year and graduate in senior year? And how many of them take 4 years to do that? Or do they take 5? What percentage of the freshmen who begin return as a sophomore? Is it 50%? Well, then why are 50% not there the next year? Is it 85%? That's a good indicator that kids might be happy where they are. Next step, once you figure out what you want in a school and what will be your good school, then it's time to research, and there are a lot of tools out there. We are a Naviance school. We offer Naviance we use Naviance to do a lot of our processing and a lot of our college planning work that we do with the students. We also make the Family Connection available to all of the community, or all of the high school community, and hopefully you all know what Naviance is. If not, your counselor can help you get logged on. Naviance has a lot of cool tools that you can use. You can identify your college preferences, you can search for colleges, you can develop a prospective list of colleges, you can compare colleges with each other, and you can also compare your qualifications to the qualifications of recent Commack graduates who've gotten into those schools. So it's a good way of identifying what are those target schools, what are those reach schools. Keep in mind that when you're comparing criteria and qualifications, you're only looking at Commack history. So a lot of times kids will say, I can't get into UConn because the kids you had to have a 95 average. Well, that's just what happened with Commack. It's not the entire country, so you have to look a little bit deeper. And then you can also view a list of colleges that are coming to visit. There's a whole section that says college visits. We have college admissions representatives that come and have individual information sessions with small groups of students. And then we have our big events. We have 2 college days, and we have a college fair. This year it's going to be March 16th. And all of the schools that have registered for the March 16th college fair are already up there under the visits. We also have an automated email that goes out. If a student has a particular school on their list of prospective colleges, we will send automated emails. You think it's your counselor sitting there and sending each and every kid an email. It really isn't. It's just kind of done automatically, but they'll notify you if a school that you're interested in is coming to Commack. And then another resource that I like to recommend to people is something called collegedata.com. Remember I said that the comparative information that you're looking at on Naviance is Commack history. Collegedata.com is a place where you can find a lot of key information that colleges are required to report each year in something called the Common Data Set. Common Data Set is a very lengthy questionnaire that college admissions officers receive, and the information that they provide on the questionnaire is used in most of the public college publications and most of the search engines that exist for college planning and college research. It's a one-stop place, and you can look up for admissions, for instance, you can see what the national profile is, their average SATs, their average GPAs, their acceptance rates, whether they had a wait list, how many kids were taken off a wait list. So it's a very good tool. And it also has a lot of other in-depth information about the mascot, the weather, the nearest airport, how easy it is, the climate. I mean, it's pretty cool. All right, additional resources. The Counseling Center. Your counselor. That should be your point person. As Mr. Macaluso said, you can consult with a lot of different people. But so often we hear people say, well, my friend said this, and we say, well, I'm sorry we have to disagree with your friend, but that's not true. If you want, we encourage you to look for information and to consult with people. But if you really want to check out whether something is actually true or whether it's like an urban legend, please let your counselor know, and we'll try to set the record straight. And I don't know why that did that. Okay. All right. Then college information sessions. Those are the individual meetings with admissions officers that I mentioned, the small groups. Junior planning conferences, typo alert, that should not say college days after that, it's just junior planning conferences that Mr. Macaluso said we're going to begin in December. And as he mentioned, those are times for you, your parents, and students to sit with counselor and discuss individual plans. And then we have the 2 college days, one in March, one in October, one in March. College fair is going to be in March. In the spring, I run a series of college planning workshops for juniors. One is entitled Game Plan, where students define what is important to them, what are they looking for in a college. The second one is doing college research, and they will actually do searches and get a preliminary list of colleges to consider. Another is on the common application. Students fill out a common application just for practice. And the last one is an essay workshop. I run each of those topics 3 times, and they'll be publicized through morning announcements and on our webpage. And we have a senior college planning night and college planning workshops for juniors. I just went over. Senior college planning night is in September. That's a time for parents primarily to get a refresher on what we should be doing. And when this new school year begins, a lot of people say, okay, now what? So we have an event to kind of go over what the process is and what you should be doing at that stage. And we, at the same time, or around that same week, we have senior class meetings to go over the same kind of procedural information with the kids. And as I also said at the beginning, I have a college application help desk. That's in the fall. It really is on a walk-in basis. A couple times a week, I just plop myself in the reception area of the counseling center, and whoever walks in, whatever they need, I have my laptop there, and we just kind of troubleshoot. If they're having problems, questions, sometimes I'll look at essays. So it's another source of help for the students. There is no better way to explore and investigate a school than to get out there and visit. So campus visits is really top on the list in terms of how to find out the most about the school. Attending the information sessions that the admissions officers have here, and sometimes they'll have regional information sessions at hotels or central venues that they'll notify students about. They also have on-campus open house programs. Sometimes they have them a couple times a year, so those are very worthwhile. They have a whole bunch of stuff on their websites. They have blogs. They're connected with social media, so there's a wealth of information out there. And then virtual tours. Sometimes a school might be too far away to actually get out there, but the virtual tours might give you a sense of whether or not it's worth the trip. I don't think a virtual tour should ever replace actually going to a school if it's a school that's really being highly considered. If it's just, maybe, then maybe it's not worth going out to California. But if it's really a possibility that you want to go out there, that you want to attend school there, you have to go and visit. And then other sources of information, alumni, people who have graduated, current students, and some of the guidebooks. I would caution you on some of the guidebooks. Some of them are very subjective. So just, rankings are very subjective. So you really have to keep in the center of everything, you have to keep in mind what is good for you. What's ranked number 1 for whatever criteria may not be the best fit for you. All right, and then you prepare to apply. We're going to start planning for senior schedules and scheduling for all of our students within the next couple of weeks. It's important for seniors to keep up the momentum, to keep challenging courses, the courses that the students are enrolled for in senior year appear on the transcript, and colleges do not want to see them taking the easy road. Just so you know, because a lot of people think, well, I don't want my kid to have a study hall, that will show on a transcript. Things that do not show on transcripts. Study hall does not show on transcript. Early release does not show on a transcript. And resource room does not show on a transcript. So those are things that we frequently get questions about. But the bottom line is to be well prepared for college and to be competitive in the process. Students should really have all 5 core classes, all 4 years of high school. English, social studies, math, science, language. And that's our recommendation. So that's what we'll be suggesting or urging students to choose when the time comes. And then visiting colleges is a definite must. Decide where to apply so that when the time comes, when August, September rolls around, you're all set, you know where you're going to apply, and all you have to do then is actually apply. And review the application requirements and procedures, and I urge you to read instructions carefully. They can change from year to year, and as much as we would like to memorize what everybody needs, it's impossible to keep up with it for 4,000 schools. So read the instructions and follow the instructions carefully. You taking SATs and or ACTs and SAT subject tests if required. Keep in mind that subject-specific SATs are only required by a very small percentage of schools, and they tend to be the most competitive schools in the country. Again, read the instructions. If they're required, then the students should be considering taking their subject test this coming spring. You can begin working on essays. We hope to know what the common application prompts will be sometime in February or March is when they generally announce them. And once you know what the prompts are, you can start working on essays. And then set up a timeline so you can meet application and counseling center deadlines. There are application deadlines, and then we have processing deadlines. And we'll go over all of that with you when the time comes. Some of it very briefly during the junior conference, and we'll give you some outlined information. But keeping on top of things and doing things in a timely fashion is so important, because procrastination is the enemy. And I think I'm saying that mostly to the kids in the audience, because they tend to be the procrastinators. So try to keep on top of things from the beginning. Okay, and then when you go to apply, almost everybody is applying online. I don't know of too many people that are doing paper applications anymore. Common application tends to be most used by our students. It is an application that is recognized by over 500 schools, almost 600 schools in the country. Many of the schools on the common application are schools that our students routinely apply to, and most of the SUNYs are now on the common application. There are also non-application schools that have central applications online. SUNY has its own application, but we would really like it if a school is a Common App SUNY school. We would like you to use the Common App. It just makes the process go more smoothly for us. But you can see up here and on the handouts that we have, there are some SUNY schools that are not on the Common App. And then the City University of New York, that's quite popular. Some of the campuses are popular with our kids too. That is their own application. For anything is not in Common App, SUNY, or CUNY, you would go to the school's website and their application is right up there. And then after applying, this is how it works. This is who does what. The student will be asked to submit, well, it's actually not after applying. It's the responsibilities in the application process. The student submits an autobiography, a parent feedback, and an activity resume to the counseling center. That's usually that is in the junior year. Counselors have different preferences for when they want those items. I tend to want mine early. I think some of the other counselors are wanting them early as well. By early, it means I usually want them by the time we have our conference. But your counselor will tell you specifically what they would like. And the student will be asked to request 2 teacher recommendations from Commack teachers. And then after they have applied, they will be submitting a processing request to our office along with proof of application. They will be responsible for sending their SAT scores to the colleges. They will also be responsible for sending any optional information. What we send is the transcript, something called an SSR, a secondary school report, the counselor recommendation, and any teacher recommendations that we have on file. We do all that through Naviance. Most schools will accept it through Naviance. There are a few out there that still want us to mail things, and we will mail them if we need to. And then the student will also have to tell us if the colleges require mid-year grades or not. And then we'll send them if that's required. Let's see, we also send a profile, and let's see, and at the end of the whole process, wherever the school, whatever school the student selects to enroll in, will want a final transcript. We will send those, and that will happen in July after graduation. All right, so I want to kind of end with a video by Mr. Tim Bernald, who is Dean of Admissions at the University of Southern California. Hopefully the video will work this year. Last year it didn't, but just a little insight as to what his views are of the parent involvement in the process.
We understand that the college search and selection process and the admission process for many families is a family activity. We understand that in many cases it's the parents who are paying for the student to go to college. And as a parent myself, I completely understand the parental desire to be involved and to have some influence and to really help guide our sons and daughters. But I also remind parents that what is the healthy sort of relationship that we seek with our children? I think that from the moment our children are born, what we are working towards is helping them to become independent, helping them to become young adults and adults who are able to stand on their own feet. And so I think the process of searching for a college is often a great time to really start practicing that. Parents have a role. They have a very strong role. Parents know their sons and daughters probably better than anyone else does, maybe even better than the students themselves know. So I think parents can be a mirror for their children. I think they can ask the pointed questions. I think when they go to visit a college campus and the parents understand what the students' likes and dislikes are, and if the parents notice something that they think should be of importance to the student, it's completely appropriate to say, hey, well, did you notice this? I know you like that. Well, what about this? But I think it's not the parent's role to say, oh, I absolutely want you to go to my alma mater, or I hope that you'll get into these schools and not these schools. Again, yes, we all have hopes and dreams for our children, but I think we need to be supportive. I think we need to make sure the students are the ones driving this process, and we need to work on not enabling them. I can't tell you the number of times I will converse with parents, either via email or on the phone, or even sometimes in person, and their child is nowhere to be seen. And one of the first things I'll ask is, well, where's your son? Where's your daughter? And often I'll hear, well, they're so busy with school or with activities. Well, that's reasonable, but again, parents, you're not the ones who are going to be living here for 4 years. You're not the ones who are going to be going to class. So my advice for parents is that let your students make the phone call. Let your students send the email. Let your students take the lead. It doesn't mean you shouldn't go with them. It doesn't mean you need to keep your mouth shut. It just simply means when you begin to feel that urge to take charge, step back a little bit. I think a don't is to lead students to believe that a certain school is the only place for them. Most young people, even teenagers, do respect what their parents have to say, even if they won't admit it. And I think if parents from the outset set up a great expectation around one particular school, it may be the case that for whatever reason that school isn't a good fit, and then down the road when it comes time to choose colleges, it's a real problem. We see that a lot with USC. Families are very devoted to this place. There's a lot of interest in keeping up those familial ties that I spoke about in another response. And so it's not uncommon to see parents saying, USC is the best place for you. That's where you need to end up. So I think that's a real don't. Another real don't, again, perhaps is obvious, but we see this so often, is to take the lead in setting up visits to the colleges, or for the parents to take the lead in filling out the application. I've had parents who are so involved in this process that literally their sons and daughters didn't do anything in the admission process. And I've had parents who hijack the mail, who will call and say, well, I got the USC decision letter, but I haven't shown it to my daughter yet. I mean, these are all things that I know are very slippery slope. I'll be honest and tell you that there's probably nothing more annoying to an admission office or an admission committee than a parent who seeks to act as the student's proxy or agent in this process. It doesn't leave a good taste in the mouth of admission committees. And I wouldn't go so far as to say that a student might not get a favorable outcome because of that, but I would think that students want to have the strongest and most positive relationship they can with the university and get started on the right foot.
So in closing, keep calm, take things step by step, and just remember it's not all that complicated. Thanks.
Thank you, Ms. Natali. Before turning it over to our next presenter, I just want to make sure everybody got a handout on the way in this evening. And, I heard a lot of pages flipping, so I'm sure you were looking at the PowerPoint presentation. I do want to apologize. I see how small the print is on there. We're not trying to test your vision. I will tell you that we will generally, if it's not up there already within the next few days, although my secretary is out for the week, so maybe within the week, we will have this PowerPoint up on our website as well, okay? So if you need to refer back to it or can't read something that's on here, you will be able to see it on our website, okay? So now I'd like to introduce Sharon Brennan to you. Sharon began her career as an earth science and biology teacher at a junior high school in Connecticut. After completing a master's degree in counseling, she made the move to higher education, taking a position at her alma mater, Sacred Heart University, as an admissions counselor. She was promoted over her 10-year tenure to Dean of Admissions and then moved on to Southern Connecticut State University as the Director of Admissions. When she retired in the fall of 2006, she was the Chief Enrollment Officer for the campus with 3 offices and about 70 people reporting to her. Over Sharon's 30 years in higher education in the state of Connecticut, she developed strong relationships with the high school counseling community. Both Sacred Heart University and Southern Connecticut State University were predominantly in-state tuitions, so a strong partnership with the Connecticut high schools was imperative. She was very active in state and regional professional organizations, serving as president of the Connecticut Association for Counseling and Development and New England College Board representative for the state of Connecticut. Her relationship with the school counseling community continues to remain strong, and she is currently working as a higher education consultant with several school districts in Connecticut and Stony Brook University on Long Island. It is my pleasure to now welcome Sharon Brennan.
It's a pleasure to be here with all that wisdom that took 45 years to garner. I'm going to start off by just telling you that you have handouts from me, and I'm going to go through them quickly so that you know that you don't have to take copious notes, you can just listen. You have the campus visit, which I will spend some time on. I happen to think it's a very important part of the process. Also, 10 questions that get to the heart of a college. I hope that some of you will take that section to heart, and when you visit college campuses, you really challenge them and ask them those questions. Also, an article from the New York Times in 2015 by Frank Rooney, which really hits at the heart of the anxiety level that is created for students and parents in this college admissions process. And Mr. Macaluso is correct. It has changed a great deal in the past 10 years. A list of college myths and other strange tales. I'm not sure I'll have time to go through them. They're pretty funny because students and parents actually do believe some of these things, and I'm just trying to debunk them a little bit. And then the scorecard, College Affordability and Transparency Center. I'll talk a little bit about that. And last but not least, an article that was in Newsday last year about a young woman right here on Long Island who attended high school here, and how profound she is at the end of senior year, that she really sees what the game is all about. And I'll finish up with that. I'm going to talk about higher education and what is the reality. There's not a lot of reality in the media and the news because the media and the news covers what's hot, and what's not doesn't really get covered. The campus visit, the most important part of a college admissions process. How to support your children through the college admissions process without taking over. And our friend from the University of Southern California was talking about that. The college scorecard and the reality check. A little bit about the strange myths and tales. I hope I have time. I have a couple of real life stories of students that I'd like to share with you. And then go to our local girl here on Long Island with her wisdom that she shared with all of us last year in a Newsday article. So this is what's going on in higher ed in 2015. There are close to 5,000 colleges, hit or miss, somewhere between 4,700 and 5,000 four-year colleges in the United States. Educational attainment across the United States varies greatly, but I want you to understand that for lots of parts of the United States, it's actually a big deal to have a high school diploma. High school diploma, 88.15% of the people in the United States have a high school diploma. Some college, about 58%. A BS or a BA in New York State, about 48%. In Louisiana, about 28%. People who go on for masters, about 12%, and doctorates, about 4%. So what I want to start off by saying is that it's a big deal to get a bachelor's degree. Living in the Northeast, sometimes you don't remember that. You need to go to other parts of the country and meet other people and talk to people. It's a big deal to finish a bachelor's degree. And I think that Ms. Natali talked in for statistics that when we look at a lot of students going off to college, but the graduation rate across all public and private universities in the United States right now, the graduation rate from college after 6 years is 54%. So we spend a lot of time worrying about getting them in. But the reality is a lot of them are not finishing, and that's an important point. Right now there's 19.9 million undergraduates enrolled in college. Colleges, what colleges do they go to? You'd never know this from the media, especially the New York Times or the Wall Street Journal. 67% of the students go to public universities. 67% of the students in the United States go to public universities. 37% go to private. Where do they go to college and how do they go to college? Here's a statistic you never hear. 35% of the students under the age of 25 that are going to college are going part-time. They are going part-time. They are not going full-time. Community college, 40%, public colleges, 38%, and privates, 17%. But what does the media talk about? The media talks about privates a lot, and it talks a lot about a certain group of privates constantly. The highly selective, the prestigious, the Ivy Leagues, the little Ivies, the selective admission, and the high cost. They pound that into you until people actually believe that that's what all the colleges are like. And we're really talking about maybe 250 to 300 colleges that would fall into that category. The real deal for most students is that 63% of four-year colleges accept more than 50% of their applicant pool. 63% of four-year colleges accept more than 50% of their applicant pool. That is not considered highly selective. Highly selective, you got to get down to about 25, 20, or in the teens. Harvard and Yale accept less than 10% This past year, it was 6% of their applicant pool. The bottom line is you have a lot of options. And I think that that's what your school counseling office is trying to get across to you based on this level of anxiety that is created where people, students, and parents feel that there aren't a lot of options. There are lots of options. 60% of students enroll at colleges that accept more than half of their applications. So, students and parents, you have this wonderful opportunity to work as a team along with your school counselor to discover, locate, and be admitted to several colleges that will be a great choice for you. Several colleges that will be a great choice for you. I hope when I finish, you will be relaxed and you will decide that you're going to enjoy this experience. Ms. Charlie started that at the very beginning of her PowerPoint. Remember, students, and you hear this repeatedly, but you're going to hear it over and over again, this is your dream. Your parents, teachers, counselors, and coaches will be there to support you. But in the final analysis, it's your choice, and you need to feel like it's your choice. Make it right, and keep in mind, I think that former Dean Vassar coined this term, it's about the student in the college, not the decal in the window. You can buy the decal right now in any college that you go visit and stick it in the back of your window. And then go about the business of finding the best place for the student, the best place for the experience. In 2014, in the New York Times, there was an article, they love to hype this stuff, called Applications by the Dozen as Anxious Seniors Hedge College Bets. So that was the article. The Dean of Admissions at Smith College decided to write a comment, respond to the editor, Deb Schraber. And this is what she said. It's short, it's to the point, but it's what we're talking about. Yet another reminder that prospective college students and their families would do well to slow down and catch their breath. There are nearly 3,000 four-year colleges and 2,000 two-year colleges in the United States. The average admit rate at most of the colleges is 65%. Rather than obsessing about a school's ranking and applying only to the most selective colleges, students should try to find the best fit for them. More selective does not mean better, it just means more selective. There is really a college for every applicant, and students tend to enroll at a school where they belong. Isn't that refreshing to hear that after all of this angst, that what we see on the other end at colleges and universities, that most of the time students end up where they belong. As applicant deadlines near, the most important question parents can ask their high school senior is, how can I help you love this last year of high school? And after asking that question, parents should really listen. The answer is likely to lower the flame. So let's try to lower the flame this evening. And let me go right now to the campus visit. I happen to think the campus visit is probably one of the most important parts of the college admissions process. And I think in some ways it's underserved for a variety of reasons. But I'll run through some of the key points quickly so we can get on to some of the other information. There was an article recently on student trends related to college admissions. And one of the comments was, the campus visit is the most frequently cited source of trusted information about a college. And when you think about it, why not? We all produce beautiful view books, have wonderful websites, great social media, but there is no substitute for going on a campus and spending a half day there or taking a tour, etc. I have to add the good news, parents are also listed as the leading influencer about where their students apply and where they make their final decision. So although they might be doing a lot of pushback over the next year and a half, you can feel confident that if you let it be their process, when they're 25 or 30, they'll admit that you had some influence on the selection of the college and it was very helpful at the time. Okay, so here's some of the highlights of doing campus tours. And how many people have already started doing campus tours? Oh, excellent. You need to be out there often. often, and with a variety of schools. Number one, start early and visit often. Start early and visit often. So if we have any 9th or 10th graders in the audience, go for it. You don't have to wait until you're in your junior year. And I divide it into 3 ways just so you can get a lot done. The campus tour can be a drive-by, it can be a do-it-yourself, or it can be the real visit. And it's exactly what I'm saying. A drive-by is literally a drive-by. You're going to a basketball game, you're going to visit Aunt Gertrude in Ohio, and you see a sign for a college, and you get off, and you take a drive through the campus. And maybe you make some notes, and you pick up a brochure. You're just trying to build a wealth of information about what colleges look like. Do it yourself. You plan to go there, but you don't set up a formal tour. You decide to visit the campus on your own, maybe spend an hour on the campus, stop by and pick up materials. Most of the college campuses now have an app that you can put on your phone and you can follow the tour on your own. And then finally, the real visit. And the real visit I say because that's for the colleges you're seriously interested in, because you're going to need to spend 2 or 3 hours on the campus. And you can't get a lot done, or you can't do a lot of visits if you do a real visit for everyone. My niece ended up going to Fordham University. She's from San Diego. My sister flew in at the end of her junior year, and we did 14 colleges in 3 days. So we did drive-bys, do-it-yourself, and real visits. And I have to add that one of the things I highly recommend is putting a neutral party in the car. I was the neutral party. I was the referee between my sister and her daughter. It worked really well, so bring a 3rd person. When do you start visiting? You can start visiting in 9th and 10th grade. So obviously that's before application. You can visit before application. You can visit after application. You can visit after accept. I think Ms. Natali said something about distance. If you're going to the University of Alaska, you probably could save that visit, unless you have a lot of extra cash, until after accept. Unless you're going to be out there for one of those tours or cruises or whatever. So pick your schools close by first to visit those, and you can get those in early. But I have to say, do not ever pay a deposit to go to a college without visiting the college. I hear people who send in deposits and they haven't taken a look at it. So that's not a very good idea. When do you do it? You do it on family vacations. You plan them around this. You do them on weekend trips. You do them on one-day trips. You do planned college excursions. Any way you can fit them in. Never miss a chance to visit a college campus. I just cannot reiterate that enough. I think my niece's final decision to go to Fordham was because we just didn't look at those 14. There were more in the fall and more in the spring after she had been accepted. So she had a lot to compare, and it made it easier to make the decision. What do you need to look for? I'm not going to go through it. It's on your list. There's all kinds of things that you need to look for when you get on campus. And other options: sit in on a class, eat on campus, eat off campus, set up appointments to meet with the band leader, or if it's appropriate, at a time when the NCAA allows, a visit with a coach, etc. Take notes. You won't remember. It's like one of those tours of Europe where you're in a different city every day. So if you don't write down what you see on the campus, it will be gone. You won't remember who had what program or what residence hall you liked the best. What you're really trying to do is get sort of an instinctual feel for campuses. So students know all of a sudden urban campuses are off the list. They were on, and then you do a lot of visits and they were off. With my niece, it was just the opposite. The more we did urban, the more she liked urban. That's what she wanted, and that's where she ended up at Fordham. These are my top 8 do's and don'ts. Never pass up an opportunity to visit a campus. If you got a few extra minutes or an hour and you're taking a family trip and you see a sign for a college, get off and visit. Students need a frame of reference. Visit diversity of campuses. Don't just stick with one type. My niece was going to only look at urban, and we said to her, no, you have to look at other campuses, because, when she got that thought about urban, she was a sophomore. They change a lot from sophomore to junior and junior to senior. They change a lot from fall of senior year to spring of senior year. So you need to get them to look at a lot of different colleges, big, small, suburban, urban, etc. Most costly visits, I said already. You can save those till after application or after accept. We must have done 5 or 6 colleges along the East Coast, just my husband and I and my niece, after she got accepted. And she went through those. So there was enough time to get that in before the deposit was due. You can use virtual tours. They were mentioned before. They can be really helpful. You can use those in the early stages, maybe to eliminate some campuses, although I have to say that there's really no substitute for the real visit. Parents, this is a really important point for you. Whenever you're on a campus visit with your son or daughter, you must show no preference for anything. You just keep your mouth shut. Walk around the campus, don't say what you like, what you don't like, just keep saying, honey, what do you think about that? Or what did you think about the athletic center? Oh, great, yeah, we'll write down your notes, etc. It's a death knell for a campus. If you get too excited about it, it's going to go from number 1 to number 5, 6, or 7. Now, eventually, the following year they might move it back up, but it's going pretty far down on the list. And don't run to the bookstore and buy a sweatshirt. That doesn't work really well either. Now, this is a message to the students, and you guys do this, and if you've had tours already, I know you've done it. Remember that the tour guide is only one student on a campus of 10,000, 20,000, 30,000, 40,000, or 5,000. Just because you don't like the tour guide doesn't mean you don't like the university. They do it all the time, so don't do that. And that's why sometimes your first visit could be your own walk around, so you could sort of pick different students that you would talk to. Whenever you have an opportunity, students and your friends are traveling and they're asking you to go along with the parents, go. You'll get a chance to see another campus. You want to have perspective and that institutional factor so you're able to make wise decisions. Try and have fun and make it a family adventure. I already suggest that you bring a neutral party, acting as a referee depending upon the number of days you're gone. And remember, it's the student's process. I'm going to go through these quickly because the Dean of Admissions at the University of Southern California talked about these a little bit, but they need to be reiterated. And this is the top 10 things that parents should remember about the college search, and that it's not their search, but it's the student's search. And this was compiled by Dean of Admissions at Middlebury College and was in the New York Times a couple of years ago. And it's a David Letterman list that dates it a little bit now. Number 10, remember the process is not about you. Remember the process is not about you. Do not relive this experience and lose sight of who this is all about. Number 9, support and encouragement are appropriate. Pressure and unsolicited advice is not. You have to wait for them to ask or find your moment where you can come in gently. Make a deal, some families do this, to only discuss the college application process one night a week at the dinner table. Otherwise, dinner is ruined for at least a year. Number 8, do not use the words we or are when referring to a student's application process. It happens in person, it happens on the phone. The we and are is really very, very negative. Number 7, help them prepare, but let them perform. Through the whole process, on the phone, in person in the admissions office, they walk up to the desk and introduce themselves and say we're here for a tour. And I know that's hard to do because up to this point, you've interceded quite a bit and you've needed to do that, but not through this process. But you don't leave them alone. They're the top of the triangle and the bottom is the school counselor and the other corner are the parents. So you're there to support this process. Number 6, students. Make your own appointments, make your own phone calls, send your own emails, fill out your own applications, write your own essays, do all the follow-up on your own. Admissions offices take note of that. I cannot tell you how many times, mostly fathers, not mothers. I guess the mothers didn't think they could sound like their teenage daughter, but for some reason or another, the fathers thought they could sound like their teenage son and would call. And we knew right away it was not a 17-year-old on the other end of the phone. Number 5, allow your children to ask questions. Some colleges actually will separate the tour groups into students and parents so that both are more comfortable. The students get to ask all their questions and they're not embarrassed by the stupid questions they think their parents are asking during the tour. Number 4, prepare your children for disappointment. Please prepare your children for disappointment. They're going to apply to a number of schools, and unless their whole list are safety or whatever we're calling them these days, the likelihood is they're going to get a couple of denials. So get them ready for that and help them understand that many colleges are extremely competitive and a lot of people apply and they cannot accept everyone. Number 3, never complete any portion of the college application. We already talked about that. You did your applications years ago, you did great at it, you don't need to do it again. Number 2, students and parents, you need to help them with this. Do not let stereotypes or outdated information steer your children away from colleges and universities that could be a good choice. I'm not going to have a chance to go through the college myths and strange tales, but what happens is that they find a college that they're interested in, and they come into the school excited about it, and their friends never heard of it. It can be a death knell. I mean, it really sends them into a tizzy. So you need to talk to them about that. There are over 5,000 colleges. It's impossible that every student in Commack High School knows the name of those 5,000 colleges. So just because they didn't hear of it doesn't mean that it's not a great place for a student to go. And parents, again, I have to reiterate, never during a college visit buy a sweatshirt, a t-shirt, or anything. Because without saying you think it's great, you got the t-shirt or the sweatshirt in the bag. I'd like to move on now to, just quickly, the college scorecard. The college scorecard was launched by President Obama in 2013. It just got updated this year in 2015. It's a great mechanism for you to compare colleges. And very quickly, when Obama launched it, he said, it's where you can get the most bang for your educational buck. It's a way for you to see return on investment. And in the college scorecard, and the website is in there, it talks about cost, what does it cost to attend, average net price, graduation rate, what percentage of students graduate in 6 years. Number 3, loan default rate, are students able to repay their loans after graduation? And finally, median borrowing, what is the typical amount borrowed for a student for an undergraduate study? And the final piece is employment. Where are they employed? How much money do they make? How much a month are they making when they get out in 10 years? They just did a survey of high school students and had them run through scorecard. The high school students liked it a lot. They liked it because it was simple and easy. The top billing was they could find the average annual cost, the graduation rate, and the salary after attending. So strongly recommend that you take a look at this. Good news, we were talking about it before. I thought this would never happen in my lifetime. President Obama, through executive action, has changed the way you file for a FAFSA starting next fall, October 1st, 2016. So the juniors in here who will be seniors, you will be able to file the FAFSA after October 1st of 2016 and get an answer back from the colleges and universities you file with, not at the end of March or April when you only have 1 month to decide where to put down your money. So finally, they have figured out that when you sell a product, you need to tell them how much it costs before you ask them to consider spending money. So this is going to be a game changer. I'm not sure how all the colleges will deal with it, but I encourage you to take advantage of it, and you can pre-populate with your tax data from 2 years back. See, the problem was they wanted your tax data, so you had to wait till January, February, March to file. Now you can take your old tax data and put it in, and they'll upgrade it if you decide to go to that college. But it's a blessing. You will actually know when you're applying what the cost factor is. So net price, whether it's public or private. Okay. All right, I'm not going to go through the college admissions myths and other strange tales. It's pretty funny, and it's accurate stuff, and it's what people believe. But I want to tell you 2 stories about 2 real students. There's happy endings to both, so that's the good news. The first one is, whose process is this anyway? And this is Emily, and these are real students that I know. Emily's a bright and talented young woman that has attended private schools in San Diego from K through 12. She is a nationally ranked surfer with several endorsements. Emily decides that she wants to continue to surf while she's in college. She applies to the University of Hawaii and several University of California schools. Her parents encourage Emily to look to the East Coast for name schools with the prestige factor. Emily complies as an only child who's always aimed to please mom and dad. She's admitted to George Washington University, visits and enrolls. Emily completes the fall semester but is not happy. Returns in the spring, withdraws 3 weeks into the semester, $30,000 lost, no credits earned. This is reality. Home for the spring semester and no classes, decides that she really liked DC, just needed to be at a school with more of a campus. She applies to Georgetown Jesuit University with the traditional Gothic wall going around the outside, and is admitted for the fall as a transfer. She enrolls and lasts about 3 weeks before she withdraws, comes home, $30,000 lost, no credit. Emily is now back in San Diego, got a job, moved out of the house, and is attending a community college. She tells her friends that she is a California girl and should have followed her own dreams, not her mom and dad, and she surfs almost every day. Moral of the story, it's the student's process. I know her parents, they're wonderful. They had no idea they were stealing her process. Emily had no idea they were stealing her process. She did not speak up. She was an only child, and she thought mom and dad knew best. The end of the story is she went to a community college in San Diego for a year. She returned to Georgetown and graduated with honors. And she's traveling all over the world now. She's running her own 501c3 to raise funds for poor children, and it's all based on the concept of surfing. So it's just an incredibly happy ending. My other story is the bad investment, Kevin. Now, I'm sure there aren't any bad investments in here, but just assuming there might be a couple, I'll share this story with you. And this is a young man from Long Island. Bright, intelligent young man, good student, K-8 in a competitive school district. High school, he put little to no effort into classes without any real study habits. Grades in high school took a continued downward slide. All attempts by parents to change the pattern failed. Senior year, all of Kevin's friends start applying to college. Kevin is now showing some interest in college, especially going away. Why not? That's what everyone else is doing. Bad investment conversation with parents occur. I really give them a great deal of credit. They took the initiative and sat down with Kevin. Parents explain that they support his recent found interest in getting an education, but that Kevin must prove that he is a worthy investment. Kevin enrolls at Suffolk Community College, does well, but is interested in moving on. He transfers to 5 Towns, which has a major that he's interested in, and Kevin does well. He researches other colleges in the Northeast that have his major, and he chooses Keene State College in Keene, New Hampshire. Kevin applies and transfers with a GPA of 3.5. He's accepted along with all his transfer credits from both colleges and goes off to college and completes his degree. Bad investment turned into great investment. Don't invest major dollars in a student that has not proved yet that they are ready to make the required commitment to go to college to be a success. Because the space between the end of senior year and the beginning of college is like 3 months. So there isn't a major change if you've got a student who up to this point has really not showed any interest. And if you explain it the way I think Kevin's parents did, then you have a great opportunity to turn it around and they can be quite successful. I want to end here, I think, with the young lady from Long Island. The title of the article, this was an editorial that she wrote in, and they ran August 16, 2015. So she's just in her freshman year right now. It's called The Trap of National College Rankings, and I've just sort of summarized it, and you'll have a chance to read it later. Her name is Casey Candela, and she graduated from Cary High School in Franklin. She was a top student at her high school, one of the very, very top students. She carried around under her arm, I'm sure none of you will do this, the U.S. News and World Report to look at select colleges. And for her, it was all about the rankings. She was looking at all the top ranked schools in that book. She applied to 4 Ivy League colleges and 4 other very competitive colleges. So she applied to 8, so she didn't go overboard with the number of schools that she was applying to, at least initially. She said in the article, I was a top student, so I believed that if I did not attend a top 20 school, I wasn't good enough. If I did not attend a top 20 school, I wasn't good enough. And in the editorial that she writes, she quotes the Dean of Admission at Yale, who says, "The publication of college rankings is a business enterprise and capitalizes an anxiety about college admissions." And this young lady actually eventually figured that out on her own. I choose my dream school when the acceptances come in, which is Georgetown. And she was willing to go there even though it came in as number 21 in the U.S. News and World Report. Because remember, she was only going for the top 20, but whatever. She liked Georgetown a lot. They had her major in international political economics. What happened is that she also got accepted to Fordham University for the same major, but it was only ranked 58th in U.S. News and World Report. So she put that as her safety school. So she was accepted at both schools. And she selected number 21 over number 58, and in retrospect, she said, it was because of the ranking, because she really had dreamed of being in the top 20. She applied for financial aid at Georgetown and the other schools where she had been admitted. Her dad is a mechanic and her mom is a nurse. The cost at Georgetown, what you write the check for, not all the other incidentals, is $67,000 per year. She was turned down for need-based aid, and all that was offered in the package were loans. She actually went to Georgetown and appealed in person, but the way the financial aid process works sometimes, on paper you look like you have a load more money than you really have, because with private colleges they use the profile, and they take other information into account when they're looking. Fortunately, Fordham offered me a full tuition scholarship and admission to their honors program. And the major actually worked out a lot better for her. Moral of the story, she says, I worked hard in high school and I thought this would guarantee attention at an elite institution. I thought that the only way to succeed was to attend one of the top 20 colleges. Message to today's high school seniors. Regardless of where you go to college, you are the same person with the same aspirations. The college you attend will not prove your worth. It is merely a tool to help you achieve your dream. That's a pretty amazing young lady. And as I said to you, she's a first semester freshman at Fordham. And I feel like I need to go and find her on that campus and say thank you so much for writing that editorial. And she did that, it was August, so it was right before she was going off to Fordham. But so much wisdom, and it's so accurate. So I hope that sharing that with you helps a little bit in the process. I want to encourage you to enjoy the process. It's a wonderful opportunity to bond with your children. And it's really the last time, because once they go off, the whole world is different. So enjoy it. Don't pass it on to anybody else. You be a part of it. Find a sister or a brother-in-law or an aunt or somebody to be the referee in the car, and you'll have a grand time. And get started, and work with your wonderful school counseling office. They have a great operation here. They provide tremendous support. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sharon. That was a great presentation. I just wanted to mention, Sharon did reference the FAFSA and some of the changes to the FAFSA. We always do have a financial aid night. That's will be on January 13th this year. In the future, as things change with the financial aid process, we're probably going to move that up to October for next year rather than January. So junior families will have an opportunity to see it in January this year as well as in October, probably. We're not exactly sure yet for next school year. And then after that, we may even start to do it in the spring to help parents prepare a little bit more effectively. Just a couple of last words that I want to share with you, or a couple of things that stood out for me during the night in the presentation. You know, the first, there's a college for everyone. That's something I truly believe in. There's a college that's out there for everyone. You also hear us a lot of times talking about, or you hear people talking about finding the right fit. Well, I think that's important, and that was discussed tonight. The other part, the piece that I would like to mention is, in my opinion, there's no one right fit, okay? While finding the right fit's important, there are many colleges that can be the right fit for your child or for the student sitting in the audience. And also, I think a lot of that has to do with what your child makes of their college experience as well. You go to the best college in the world, and if you're going to go sit in your dorm room every night and not take advantage of what's around you or get involved or be an active contributor on your school community, in your school community, it's not going to be a whole heck of a lot of fun for you. So take advantage of the experience and the opportunity that ends up being afforded to you. And the last piece, as Ms. Natali mentioned, don't stress. The process is not that complicated. If you start now and plan it out, it really won't be that overwhelming for you. And there is a lot of support here at the high school for you, so please reach out to us, send us an email, give us a phone call. We want to help you through the process. I know we've kept you here for a long time, and there are a lot of students in the audience, so we're not going to take questions from the audience, but we will remain up here for a while. If you'd like to come up and ask us any questions, please feel free to do that. And I'd like to thank everybody for coming this evening. Please have a safe trip home, and we'll see you again soon.